Hi, it's me, Teacher Mike from phuketpals.org. I hope you're all okay today. Welcome to the video. We're continuing the series about spicing up our writing here today. And we're spicing up our writing with relative clauses. Okay, now what is a relative clause? Well, a relative clause is a type of complex sentence. We talked about complex sentences in detail in the last video, so go back and have a look if you're not sure at this stage. If you are sure, then please keep watching, okay? So I'll show you an example of a complex sentence, then we can talk, I'll show you an example of a complex sentence with a relative clause, and then we can kind of talk about the ins and outs of that. Have a look. For example, many young people strive to access a career in medicine, comma, which is a highly respected career pathway. Again, many young people strive to access a career in medicine, which is a highly respected career pathway. Okay, what jumps out at us here? Well, a few things. In the red here, this is the part of the sentence that is known as a relative clause. What does a relative clause do? Well, it modifies the noun that comes before it. So if we look here, we can see the relative clause starts with the word which, and the word before that is medicine. So this clause is modifying medicine for us. Medicine, which is a highly respected pathway. So it's telling us more information about medicine. Okay? Also notice that in this particular sentence here, we have an independent clause and we have a dependent clause. The relative clause in red is dependent, and then the first is independent. Okay, so you need that. You need to have an independent clause and a dependent clause in this type of complex sentence as well. Okay. Another thing to notice is the comma here. Okay, there's a comma after medicine. Now, this is quite important. There are two different types of relative clause. The first type are called non-essential relative clauses. The other type are called essential relative clauses. This is a non-essential relative clause. What does that mean? Well, it means if you look at the first clause, the first part of the sentence here, you could have a full stop there. Okay, it is an independent clause or a simple sentence, so you could have a full stop. But we don't have a full stop. We have a comma. And after the comma we have which. Why do we use the word which? Well, because medicine is a thing. Okay? If we're talking about people, we will say who with a non-essential relative clause. If we're talking about places, we will say where and then continue the relative clause. And the relative clause will just give, more description, more ideas, more development about the noun that comes before it. Okay, and when you have a non-essential relative clause, a good way to think about it is if you take away the relative clause, if you cover up the relative clause, will the sentence make sense and can it have a full stop? If you cover it up and it makes sense and could have a full stop, you know it's a non-essential relative clause. Therefore, you need a comma before you write the relative clause. Okay? And just remember, which is for things, where for places, and who for people. Okay? So let's look at another example. This one we switch it. Medicine, comma, which is a highly respected career pathway, comma, is the dream of many gifted young people. Again, medicine, comma, which is a highly respected career pathway, comma, is the dream of many gifted young people. So, again, we've used medicine as our important noun here that we're going to describe or give more information about in our relative clause. And you can see medicine, comma, then which again, because medicine is a thing, okay? And then we give more information about medicine. Medicine, which is a highly respected career pathway, comma, is a dream of many gifted young people. Now, what makes this sentence different from this one is where the relative clause is placed. In the first sentence, the first example, the relative clause is the last part of the sentence. Here, we have it in the middle of the sentence. And because it's in the middle of the sentence, you notice there are 1 and 2 commas that separate it from the rest of the sentence. And again, the rule is if you cover this up, cover up the relative clause, will the sentence make sense? So look, have a look, cover it up. Medicine is the dream of many gifted young people. Does that make sense? Yes, it does. Okay, medicine is the dream of many gifted young people. So again, this is a non-essential relative clause because it gives extra information that isn't important for the overall meaning of the sentence, but gives us extra information about the noun that comes before. Okay, next example. Increasingly, numbers of graduates are flocking to Bangalore, where many of the world's top IT companies are located. Okay, increasingly numbers of graduates are flocking to Bangalore, where many of the world's top IT companies are located. Okay, so again we have a non-essential relative clause here using where. So I forgot to circle that, apologies. That should be circled as the comma. Where we're going to modify Bangalore, which is a place in India, of course. So we want to give extra information about Bangalore. So we say where many of the world's top IT companies are located. And once again, if we take that out, increasingly numbers of graduates are flocking to Bangalore, the sentence makes sense. Okay? Again, you have your comma, and then you have your relative clause starting with where because it's a place, or which because it's a thing, or it can be who if it's a person, people. Okay. Final example here. This one is a little bit different. Teachers should prepare their students adequately for questions that will be on the test. Teachers should prepare their students adequately for the questions that will be on the test. Now, what do you notice here? Well, you notice here that we used the word that, okay? And we're modifying questions, but if we take this out, have a read if we take this relative clause out. Teachers should prepare their students adequately for the questions. And you think, teachers should prepare students adequately for the questions. What questions? What questions are these? Okay, and then you need this relative clause. You need this part of the sentence for it to have an overall meaning. Okay, the others don't. The others make sense without the relative clause. We took it out, it made sense. We took it out, it made sense. We took it out, it made sense. We take it out, it doesn't make 100% sense. So this final example here, this is what's known as an essential relative clause. Okay, these are non-essential, non-essential, non-essential. Okay, and we use who for people, which for things, and where for places that are non-essential relative clauses. This is an essential relative clause, so we'll use that. Okay, we can use that. And then we complete the relative clause that way. Okay, so the golden rule, really, to prevent yourself making mistakes here, is that when you're adding extra information, when you want to give extra information about a noun that comes before, it could be in the middle of the sentence or it could be at the start of the sentence, like here. Just make sure if it's extra information you're using who, which, or where. Okay, and if you need the relative clause, like here, for the sentence to make sense, then just use that each time, and then you shouldn't make any mistakes. Okay, so I think that's pretty much, yeah, that's about it. I think I've covered everything there. Just remember this is a complex sentence as well, so you can throw these into your essay task too, and you'll raise your score for sure. Okay, so thanks. I hope it was useful for you. My name's Mike, as you know, from phuketpals.org. I'll see you next time.